In 10 years' time, you're going to have the first Pixar movie production between Pixar, Disney, and the biggest creator in the world at that point. It would not surprise me at all if Mr. Beast creates the Toy Story of this generation. And if you're not fighting for attention on short form, you will struggle to be equally good at telling great stories in 2026 on long form. Like, I'm sorry, the times of you owning IP is going to come to an end. We're not interested in just appearing in your shows. I'm saving your show.
So this is ownership and control.
I don't need your money. I want your money.
What do you think this creator space looks like in 5 or 10 years?
In 5 years, you will have more creator groups or individuals that sit on the same sort of average viewership that we have. And it might be that the George Clarkeys, the Chris MDs, the Willenies, the big names in this space form together to create real companies. And they will make productions alongside either co-pros or as their individual productions. They might do the summer productions, let's hope so. But there will be a much, much wider approach to formats rather than just making what we call YouTube videos, if that makes sense, where you just put yourself in a sofa in a white coat studio and you just create something. There will be way more formatted, bigger productions that are supported by way more money coming into this space. In 10 years' time, you're going to have the first Pixar movie co-production between Pixar, Disney, and the biggest creator in the world at that point. It would not surprise me at all if Mr. Beast creates the Toy Story of this generation, at all. You will have people making feature films, like if you look at, if Speed and Drewski right now made Rush Hour the revival, it would bang. It would be the greatest thing that's ever come. Is the infrastructure there yet? Are the big suits across the world ready to take those gambles? Maybe not yet. Or is there money enough to pay these people? We don't look at Speed maybe in Drewski or at KSI the same way you look at a Brad Pitt yet. We're not there. But maybe we should be. And the people who are the early movers there will be the people who get to reap the rewards when they take those gambles. If you had done it 5 years ago, it's too early. Maybe now it's a little bit too early. I don't know. Insight is a good example of, like, we clearly can do productions. Give it 5, then we're at bigger production formats. Give it 10. I just don't see why you wouldn't back someone who creates beautiful things with an audience that trusts them, rather than, I mean, you can look at the trust that we have in Hollywood execs. Like, it's not like they're on the rise right now. But you will also see on the opposite side of that spectrum, great facilitators of massive IP. So the way we have seen Star Wars live on Disney now, right? Or we look at Marvel, or we look at any of the major movies that are being made, they're safe bets because you trust these things and they have nostalgic value. And the audience that goes there trusts almost Captain America more than they trust the person who makes the film. Yeah. We hopefully will not be superheroes. That would be almost ludicrous, we'd say. But we will have the same sort of trust capital so that if it is made by these people, you will maybe go and see it. And if we start making absolute horrendous content, then I'm sure we'll get punished. But right now, I think that there is a moment for us to really go make something, and that has not reached its peak in any capacity. That peaks in 5 to 10 years.
When did your journey with the Sidemen begin?
So my journey with the Sidemen, I mean, if you look at people my age, you're all going to go like, well, my journey began when I sat back home in Sweden. I saw them on YouTube and they were popping off. But my journey with them on a professional level started in 2021. I had been approached at that point by 3 guys who were coming together because the Sidemen didn't have management. They had like different agents that would like take care of them and propose them different commercial deals, stuff like that. But they didn't have like any managerial structure around them. And at the time, I was at a video game company called Fnatic, which was like, it was in the gaming and esports space when those were like the buzzwords in the 2017, 2018. The Sidemen said, we want to build a subscription service. We want to build something where we can do slower paced edits. We don't have to fully function within the YouTube meta. But we also understand that that might be a problem if we upload it to YouTube because we're going to get punished for it. But if we already have a hardcore group of people who really love us for who we are, what content can we make for them? So I walked into, it was a Soho house down in Shoreditch, and they said, we have spoken to the Sidemen and they would like to build a platform that kind of looks like Netflix. And then they said, just flipped this piece of paper over and said, what would it look like? And I just started drawing for like 3-4 minutes. And I had a couple of ideas that we had done on the network. So I was like, something like that. And then looked down and said, he's good. And I'm like, okay, what do we do now? And that was like the Sidemen at the time, like they are the most humble people you'll meet. They're the least famous people that I know. And they basically said, jump on a Zoom and then we'll get all 7 on there. You'll just walk in. They don't really read CVs. It was maybe 20 minutes. And they said, leave your job, come do this. And I said, do what? And they said, build a Netflix thing that we want to do. Can we do it in 75 days? I'm like, 75 days? To build it, an online, like to build Netflix? And then in my mind, I was trying to say like, you're crazy. But that was also my first interaction with the Sidemen where they were like, why not? What does it look like if we give you that timeline? We didn't do it in that day. I think it took 76 or 78 or 79 or whatever. But that was in the summer of 21, and we launched that in September.
Wow. We're not daunted?
I was terribly terrified. There is also something about the people who are really moving the needle in an industry and in content creation and in gaming and like content in general. They were the guiding light, and no one really knew how they were doing it. Everyone kind of thought they had some strategy, some magic to it, like they were thinking through, but they were just friends having fun, challenging every single rule that existed. And that, I think, made me think, all of the rules that I know, all of the red tape that I'm aware of, all of the things that I've been told, maybe I just challenged the same thing. And that led me down this rabbit hole of trying to build my team for that first project, which led to being almost like a talent hunt for the best like short form editors that were on like Discord or doing Fortnite montages. It was like 17, 19, 20-year-olds who had like just come out of school, but they'd been like passionately working on their iPads since they were 11, coming up with how to do fonts. Like it was a whole new world. I didn't reach out to a single agency. And then we just built this team of misfits and like odd people that just happened to be incredibly skilled at one part of the creative process. And it was beautiful to see. And that day, that September evening, is the most terrifying day of my life. It's so, if you haven't launched a digital product responds in real time. And that evening, when we pressed live, you have this back end that you're looking at, and it just says 0. And as you see the 0, you're really like, I better say a different number really fast, because otherwise I might as well just pack my bags, fly back to Sweden and get out of here. And then when you see that first flick and the first number pops up, that rush compares to nothing that exists on planet Earth. Maybe having children, I don't have any, so maybe that changes it. But when you stand and you've been putting in 20 hours a day, 75 days in a row, and it's a gamble, and you don't know what's going to happen, and you see the response, and you have the Sidemen in a group chat, and they go, update please, and then you go, we're 50 minutes in, this is how many people have signed up to the project, and they just went bananas in there. And I just went from being some random talent manager to being the guy that had joined the Sidemen and built the first really successful streaming platform independently. So that's the beginning of my journey with them.
And as we were walking in here, you described what you do as the least digital first business out there.
Yeah.
And that was surprising for me because before we met today, first time we've met, I was thinking you will be the most digital first person I've ever spoken to, because that is what the Sidemen represent to me. So just explain what you meant by with the least digital first focused people.
Yeah, no. So the behaviors of humans hasn't changed because we have gone digital. And I think that a lot of people now believe that the behaviors of humans have changed. So like, yes, we have lower attention spans because we're sitting on TikTok. That's true. We consume shorter form content. That's still true. So at 15 minutes instead of an hour, which was like the HBO era when they were doing Sopranos and The Wire or whatever, right? The difference in how that feels hasn't changed. So the community of gathering and making food and sitting down at 7 o'clock on a Sunday, that's primetime TV from the 70s and the 80s. That is what our bread and butter is. Among Us is our second most successful show. It releases weekly, twice, around the same time. It has a place on our social feed that almost tells you, here's when it's going to happen. We're not trying to push the content out to live forever on the internet. just to be on the internet forever. It is going live with the intention of making it a ritual, something that you can feel comforted by, to feel at home with. We talk about this a lot internally, because when your content is making hide and seeks with 30-year-olds and 60 of them in a military base, you're not thinking you were Francis Ford Coppola. Like, that's not who I think I am when we're making these pieces, right? But I do think about maybe there's someone who has had an absolute horrible day at work, and they come home to their girlfriend and they order some Deliveroo, and then they sit down and they watch an hour and a half of what we do, and then the Monday morning feels slightly better. And being able to do that for millions every week, that is not digital first. That's almost human first, because the people who made it are these 7 boys who came together at some point in their life, and their friendship leads into this beautiful sort of, let's see what happens if we make videos. And that's every week. So when I say the least digital, we're doing things that have been done before, but we're more questioning how it was done rather than why it was done, maybe.
And you're doing it in a world where, and this is the beauty of YouTube, anyone can upload anything at any time to any platform.
100%.
Right? But millions come to consume your content. What is it about those guys that you think is special?
There's something magical about it. I think that they are, by chance, a great representation of the entire country, of the UK. And it's like, if you live in Newcastle and you come from, say, a lower middle class neighborhood and you had Indian parents, then Vicstar123 is basically a representation of him. If you were someone who grew up in a Nigerian household in London, then Toby is the sort of person who has had that same experience. If you were someone who is just almost a bit of an outsider living on a Guernsey, or you don't belong to the center of the major cities, or you're almost regional by default, then Harry's that person. I think that they represented a moment in time that encapsulated the country in a sense. But then I think that what they managed to do, which you will never see with anyone really, when you take music, film, is a collective that put friendship first through whatever changes may have come. And I'm talking about the changes of production, money, success. Somehow the 7 of them have decided to stick it through for 13, 14, and it's going to keep on going. Years where whenever there has been a disagreement or a trial and tribulation moment for the company or for the boys, they fall back on friendship. And I don't think anywhere, honestly, on YouTube, there's anything that comes close to the sort of friendship that the Sidemen have represented. And that is the magic.
Let's take a quick break to talk about something powering the world around us. Imagine the innovation happening right now in industries like energy, aviation, and manufacturing. Industrial AI is the engine behind it, and IFS.ai is leading the charge. Did you know over 800 million passengers a year fly safely thanks to aircraft maintained by IFS.ai? And I've worked with IFS for years. I've seen their impact up close, and that's why I'm so proud and excited that they're partnering with us on this show. And if you want to see what industrial AI can do, just visit IFS.ai. Proud partners of the room where it happened.
But for people that aren't on YouTube, they can now enjoy the Sidemen because you've done a deal with Netflix, right?
That's true.
I'd love to talk about this deal because for someone like me who comes from a TV background and has founded a TV production company and then founded a podcast production business like this, I feel I kind of see both sides of the tale here. You've got this amazing brand and you've kind of got ownership of what you do, and then you've gone to Netflix. So my first question is why you felt that you needed a platform other than YouTube and the social media and the digital platform that you built to tell the story of the Sidemen or to share the content.
I think what we've had as a guiding light is not only to tell the story of the Sidemen, but to tell the story of almost the creator space. And we've carried that flag with us, I think. So you will see in our productions, our biggest productions, as I mentioned here a few minutes ago, it's 60 creators go to a military base and they play hide and seek. That might sound almost stupid in its execution because it's like a bunch of adults playing hide and seek, but it's 144 cameras. It is pre-production of insane measures, yet it's turned around in 2 days and then edited in 4. There's no TV production that can do that. It's impossible, but we can, because there are things that happen in there that are not perfect. There are sometimes sound glitches. There are sometimes a transition that didn't work out perfectly, but I get to produce what I want, how I want, and when I want, in the Sidemen's minds, right? So when we had done that for a period of time, I think that we started thinking, at some point, they're going to start wondering, what's going on over there? And we then decided, I mean, I don't have to say this without sounding like an asshole.
Just say it.
Yeah, no, but it's like we wanted to be offensive on purpose.
Right. Why?
Because if we can do what we do, we might not do it perfectly, but there's no way you guys are doing it the way it's supposed to be.
You say you guys as in what, traditional media?
Traditional media, TV. We were meeting people who were like being paid insane salaries, and they were not even the people making the TV anymore. One of the big things that really struck us was that doing fancy short film and like being in the scripted world meant that you got almost more respected than if you were in unscripted. So if you were doing reality TV, it was almost like you were like slightly off to the side. And yes, you get viewership, but we all know what it actually is, right? It's not that great. And we were like, but everything we do is unscripted. That is what we are. There's some scripted stuff, like things that may happen in videos, but it's just people, entertaining people. Yeah. It's not acting at all. So we were like, we sat down at the end of 2023 into 2024, and the boys were on their podcast, and off cameras, one of them went like, what is Big Brother, but for like our audience? And at that moment, we all went like, wait, so why can't we do a reality show, right? So we decided to start ideating. And that's when this campaign of Offensive on Purpose started, which I took my team, we put us all together, our creatives, our post-production team, our editing team, and everyone just came together. And the idea was that how fast can we do this? Yes, we'll break every single conventional rule in the game, but how fast can we do this? So we pre-prod for 30 days. Then we shot for 7 days straight, and then we edited for 9, and then we released it as a live product so that the audience could live react to every mistake we potentially made, but also they could almost share the love if they enjoyed what we were trying to do here. So it became almost like an MVP by itself. And the first time that went live, it was on the main channel, which was Sidemen Sunday. And I was in a restaurant at the time because my then girlfriend's father had a birthday, and I felt like I can't reject him here. I feel like this is going to have to be a
It's
dinner.
an important birthday to go to.
Feel like it. But I'm sitting just holding my phone, just watching this, and then it goes live, and I think the first comment was like, where are the Sidemen? Because Inside didn't have the Sidemen as the main cast, right? It's other creators. And we were kind of like, this isn't great. And then 5 minutes in, it got worse. Now they really didn't like what was happening. 25, 30 minutes into the episode, there's a little group of people who seems going like, kind of funny. Like, I'm still going to get my Sidemen Sunday next week. So 1 week off, they do something different. Quite fun. And then it grew over that hour, and it was a long episode, that opening episode. And at the end of that, everyone was like, I'm back here tomorrow. So we had 350,000 people tune in live to watch that first episode. When we went live the next evening, it was 425,000. When we went live towards the end of the season, it was more than 550,000 people. Watching live, that episode and the following episodes over the course of 15 days got 55 million views. And then suddenly our little reality show idea that had been made at 4 times the speed TV does it had taken over the internet. And we were like, that's crazy. To now answer your question, which was just give you the context of what the show was, then almost the day after we finished, we got cold emails from essentially every single streamer and the country representatives from the streamers. Because they went, so how did you do it? And who did it? And we're like, we did it. Yeah, but what showrunners made? No, we did it. And then we hired great freelancers. We hired great people from the industry, and we said, it's not going to be like it is on other sets. It's going to be different. But you're part of a cultural moment here. And when we met with Nat Crewy at that time. He was like a legend in the unscripted game, and he's out in LA now, lives there. And he took the call immediately. It had never happened to us in the UK that someone from the BBC, Channel 4, ITV had ever wanted to have a conversation. And we were now sitting with the vice president. And Netflix basically went, this was fantastic.
Yeah.
We want you to make this stuff with us. And the only thing we had ever heard was, can we stop these guys? How do we stop these guys? Not directly to our face, but from everywhere around. It was like, oh, God, here they go again. They're making a precision test where they're throwing tiny objects into holes, and we're trying to make Mastermind 67, season 67 or whatever. So I think it was a real eye-opening moment for us to feel like they wanted to collaborate.
So what had the BBC, ITV, Channel 4, I guess Netflix, Amazon, Apple, like the whole gamut of OTT providers and traditional broadcasters, what had they seen on Inside that they hadn't seen from the previous content the Sidemen had produced?
I think that it was diversified away from the Sidemen. That was a major thing. So we were not making the Sidemen Sunday. We were making TV. That was a problematic or a positive. For Netflix, it felt like a positive. But it was like, wait, so now you're just using the money that you've earned from being the friendship group, and you're now making a show that, I mean, in the first season, we were 5% in the show. And the next season, we were 3% in the show. So the argument, well, it's just because it's them, didn't work anymore. So I think that was a big, like, changing.
Yeah.
That was a big breaking point. And when Netflix spoke to us, they were like, we can't do it the way you've done it because, like, there are still mistakes in here. But I do agree with you. Like, what budgets would you put together if you were to make it more like us, but still more like you? And that started this idea of a hybrid production company where we could service external shows rather than just the stuff that we do internally. And that is what we've been facilitating and what we've been perfecting over the last year and a half, is figuring out what the future of TV production looks like. And we launched Sidemen Productions here a month ago, which is led by Adam Cohen, who's come from Studio Noah. We also brought in Jack Richardson, who has been doing a bunch of seasons on Love Island. So we're taking people from the traditional space, but it's people who looked at it and went, this is closer to what we need to do. Because this feels like I'm being heard. This feels like I'm being allowed to talk about what I talk about. And I think that we built this company on 4 very key strategy points. I set out what's the difference between me and any other production company in the country. The first one is authenticity, like, for sure. I can put from the minds of the Sidemen 12, 13, 14 years of trust to an audience that goes, I love what the stuff that they do.
Yeah.
Banijay can't say 50 years of 20 years or 10 years of trust. It's like, we don't know who Banijay is, right? Well, we knew who they are, but there is no faces behind them. So that was the first thing. The second one was pace. I can just do this much faster. My team works differently. This is not the way it is on TV, where you might be put onto a set and you have to freelance, and you're terrified if you're going to get another freelance gig. And we started learning all these things about how often teams are actually overlapping. The same people work on almost all of the different shows across the country, praying that they're going to get another 6-week contract somewhere. We were like, why don't we just build our own team, and we have the same group of people that just come back and work on these. But we can do it much faster, so we can do more productions in a year. So pace became a thing. We talked about budget. How much should it cost to make a show? And how do you still walk away with a good profit if you don't have to take away a bunch of money for high execs? So we started questioning what the budget should be. And through that, we built, I think, a hybrid model now that we have done for the first, I mean, we're releasing UK season 3 here in the spring here soon. And I think that is basically us saying, we were a YouTube collective making YouTube videos. We're actually more like an ecosystem, and we want a piece of the cake everywhere.
Well, I think it's a bold statement.
Oh.
And I think it's exciting. But I also think it's exciting for people like me that come from the world of traditional media, because we still look and think about broadcasting in the way that we did 15 or 20 years ago.
Yeah.
What should we be thinking about when it comes to broadcasting? What should the traditional incumbent production companies be thinking about to remain relevant?
Yeah, I think you will remain relevant. It's like the one thing we said as well, I did it in a big post I wrote not too long ago. The one thing we learned was that there's no lack of talent. Like, there are such exceptional creatives working in TV, and especially in unscripted, because when you work in scripted, it's like you need to do one big film or one big series and you will get time to make it. Here, if you get one successful unscripted show, you're like, go and cast for the next 15 seasons of this in 15 different countries, and then we'll get all of these people and combine it. It's like a grind that is like immediate as soon as you have a success, right? But I think the first thing is you will remain relevant for sure. There will be people who just have to move maybe more to a digital first approach, and that is the pace, the budgets, the authenticity. Like working with people who has that authenticity. I think it comes down to joining arms and becoming co-pros and being part of the creator economy rather than fighting the creator economy, and also not the idea that go and try to take the talent and put them as talent in the shows. Invite them to be part of the creative process, build things with them, and give up the ownership. Like, I'm sorry, the times of you owning IP is going to come to an end. We're not interested in just appearing in your shows. I'm saving your show. You might have a great format. I need to own that. I own my shows. We're over here getting. Yeah. My worst video last week got 1.2 million views. That's 1.2 million viewers. That's a failure at when we do our fourth most important show. If you released a new IP in the UK right now on a Sunday and it got 1.2 million unique viewers, you would be celebrating and laughing throughout the country. And there are people out here who can do that for you. But we are disconnected right now. And I think slowly but surely, and I hope that Sidemen Productions become this vehicle in the middle that brings us all together. Because I have no interest I don't want a war. That's not what it is. Yeah. I don't want conflict. I want to be like, let us in the room. We just want to sit at the table. We want to talk. Like, inside is one step, but we want to make way more than inside. And the Sidemen are going to continue doing what the Sidemen do. They're the friendship group that keeps releasing on our channels. And over this year, you will be seeing as well, we're going to be launching a bunch of new things that we're just going to test. Because if it doesn't work, cool. Next week we do what does work, and we move back, we reverse, and we go back to the drawing board. I don't have the experience of working in a traditional production company, but I can imagine that if you go in and you pitch and you pitch and you pitch and you pitch, and I don't know what the hit rate is, like how often out of 50 pitches do you get a commission? I don't know. I just know that I've done one and it worked out. And now we're going to go back into that room with the same sort of blueprint and say, we've thought about it again. Here are the people that are part of this show. We would love to talk to you guys and say, like, how do we do this hybrid? How do we do it the way you would like to have done it if you weren't held back by all the red tape or you weren't held back by what your execs are saying? That, I think, is the most exciting point for us.
Because I think the challenge for production businesses isn't that they're run in a way that isn't modern and forward-thinking and ambitious and creative and quick. No. It's as soon as you start speaking to the traditional broadcasters that you have to go and meet one person who decides who gets that gig. And, you know, you could think you're so far down the road with them, they then move jobs or go to another company and suddenly you go back to zero. Isn't there a risk, though, that you end up playing that same game? Like, you become a production company, like another production company, and you have to swim in that world of traditional broadcasters and play to their rules. How do you change that relationship?
I think that it's not like we have a hostile relationship, right? We have a super healthy relationship. But if you don't want my show, I'll release it on YouTube. I don't need your money. I want your money. Yeah. I want to collaborate. I don't need it. I have 7 of the most successful people in the creator space ever, and their friends are the 200 most successful people in the creator space worldwide. I don't have any interest in going, like, taking all of our stuff off YouTube and uploading it to a new streaming platform and then saying we're the new TV. That's not the intention. I think it's more saying there is maybe something in the industry when it comes to traditional TV that needs to be slightly tweaked. And there are things in our industry that needs to be slightly tweaked. And here's where we need to come together. So it's not that I think I'm going to sit there and have to wait for that there is one person in a suit somewhere who says yes, no. They can, but their no doesn't mean, oh God, we have to cut 5 members of our staff. This is going to be really tough. Because we own our own distribution. So if we believe in the idea, let's go and speak to the boys and say, hi, let's self-fund this. Let's push it out. And at the same time, I think there's going to be way more actors that move towards the creator space that look at how do they just self-fund this? Brands, brand partners for major show formats or even scripted moving forward. Not today, not tomorrow, but there will be a move for what it looks like to do scripted content as well, with funding and the intelligence and the production of the creator space. So I think it's not that I don't need the commission. I want the commission.
But why do you want it? Because I think, like, when BBC and ITV and Channel 4 ring you and say, we loved what you just created, how can we be part of this? You could have just gone, well, we don't need you anymore.
Oh, yeah. No, I think the BBC, I mean, they just did a massive deal here, right? They're going to come to YouTube now. That's going to be a big thing for them, which is going to be really exciting to see and see what that looks like. When I'm talking about the opportunity, and they're maybe not traditional, maybe. It's like I'm talking about the Amazon Primes, the Disney Pluses, the Netflixes, the people who still have distribution of, hundreds of millions of households around the world. They still have this power where they can take me and move me in front of my mother and father's friends, maybe. I don't have that audience now necessarily on YouTube. YouTube is still very young in terms of its audience. There are niche audiences that have an older audience, but primarily it's the Gen Z and the millennials. Millennials less so, but the millennials that grew up watching the Sidemen, and then more into the Gen Z that watch them as well. But I want to engage with, I would love for an older audience to love something we create, but I don't necessarily have that distribution. What I do know is that distribution does exist on Netflix. I know the numbers, I've seen the demographics. I don't know where BBC sit in that equation. Like, I think I will have enough of my collaboration from a YouTube, Netflix sort of relationship. But at the same time, I think there's a big thing, which is like BBC is here not only to be successful, they're here to do good because of the relationship it has to its governmental ties, it's the connection to the country, the population. And that I think is exciting, which is that my interest there would not be about let's make the most viral show ever. If the intention was instead to make something that was purely because it was right, I would love to see us do that as well. Because I think what we do is we entertain the young people of this country. And I think that the BBC entertain the old people of this country. So there's maybe a different collaboration there, rather than let's try and make just what I do, but on your distribution.
Yeah. Well, because you would love to also entertain the old people.
Of course.
The BBC are desperate to entertain the young people. That's like their number one aim.
100%. And I mean, I think that the next 3 to 5 years will be super defining. We've seen even like you will have seen Neil Mahan, who's the CEO of YouTube, obviously. He talked about YouTube being the new Hollywood. We have seen content creators now getting major deals on the platform. Alex Earl just got another deal with one of the streaming platforms. We obviously are on Netflix. Beast is on Amazon Prime. We just saw this year, right? I'm not going to say that we did it, and it's not that we created the opportunities for people like Angry Ginge or George Clarkey, but Angry Ginge won I'm a Celeb.
Yeah.
Like 3 years ago, he was just a kid streaming at Twitch. Then Simon Minimentor is one of the members of our group, right? He calls him on stream and says, "You play in the Sidemen charity match." We want to springboard people, not to be successful in our shows, to be successful, to entertain people. We don't have an interest of like, oh, I can't wait to see the day that the BBC shuts down the lights and they all go home. That stuff doesn't interest us at all. What interests us is creating things that the people want to see. And I think that we're doing that, hopefully. I mean, sometimes we make shows that they don't like, but that's just how it is. The luck of that, I guess, is if I have a good idea, not me personally, but my company and the people that I get to work with, if we have a good idea, we release it on our second channel in a very budgeted version. We see if the feedback is, did you like it? They go, yeah, okay, let's put more budget to it and release another episode. Now it's better than it was the first time. That luck doesn't exist the same way on TV. Like if you commit to a show and it's going to go live, you're kind of putting all your eggs in one basket. And if it's successful, great. If it's not, you might have to move away from it, right? One thing we're learning as well, I think, which is exciting just about that format is some shows haven't been successful first season. If we're not successful first 10 minutes, it's kind of like binned.
Yeah.
But on TV, you could have had Big Brother or I'm a Celeb. I don't know when I'm a Celeb hit its first real peak, or Love Island. I don't know when Love Island hit its first real peak. It could be season 4, it could be season 5. It's quite a lot of sink cost into that before you see the huge success.
So this is very interesting because you're de-risking the whole production model.
Yeah.
Because you can do it on a much tighter budget and put it on one of your channels, which is not going to be a problem because the money is a lot less and the risk is a lot less. But you're also the production company as well as the commissioner, because if it works, you can put it on your bigger channels and you can pump more money in.
Yeah.
But then also if somebody wants to take that and put it in front of a whole new audience on Apple, you can allow them to do that as well.
Yeah.
So this is ownership and control.
Fully. And the only argument we have, like when we go in there, we're not really interested. Well, we want to be the IP stakeholder for sure. We want to build, and we want to be the people who came up with it. I think that's important to the boys to feel that authenticity and be like, this is mine. I made this. We made it as a group. But the second one is just have creative control. Like Netflix is a mega corporation with insane amounts of quality control, safety nets, fantastically talented people. But they've really allowed us to go and make kind of whatever we want to make. Sure, they have some hard lines, but if you look at the next season that's coming out here, that is a Sidemen production, for sure. That's a Sidemen production. No one has forced us into any box or refused us to go ahead and do what we want to do. And I'm not saying that's because they think that if we have to do it their way, otherwise we'll just walk away. I don't think that's the relationship. I think they're saying maybe they have a point. Maybe there is something in the recipe that they have created of all these years. Yeah, you had more oomph to it when you said like it's end-to-end control. But it's true. It is end-to-end control of the production.
But I think it's a good thing, because I think for so long, content creators they've managed to get what they want to produce to a certain level.
Yeah.
To go any further, you have to give it away. You have to give away your IP. You have to, or take a huge risk.
Yeah.
Are there other groups like the Sidemen who you think can recreate what you're doing or copy what you're doing?
From a creative standpoint, for sure. Like there are so many people across the YouTube space that are exceptionally good at just creating really, really good formats. And I mean, in this country, you have people like Max Fosh is probably one of the brightest minds that we have. Nico Malana is the brightest mind maybe right now in the YouTube space. Beta Squad, obviously, they've been, a sort of, we're called the Sidemen, they're called the Beta Squad. It's like there are similarities between us for sure. There are so many fantastic creators in this country. The difference here is that we have built the company over the last 5 years. We have diversified away from the Sidemen. We have created revenue streams from so many different avenues that we now can make these risks and take on this production. We have learnings and experiences that put us in a place where we can go and make it happen. Yeah. It's not just great creative ideas. It would be crazy for Max Fosh with the great videos that he produces to take on overheads and then say, let's go and slam this out of the park right now and then take massive financial risks. I would never advise Max to do that. But then you have over in America, Beast has a massive company out in this compound in North Carolina. You have people like Dude Perfect who took on great amounts of investment this year, and they're building their own real like infrastructure. Great creators out there, and Jesser, Ryan Trayon is probably one of the most intelligent people in that space. Yeah. The only thing they're lacking is time. I've had time. Well, not me. I've been here for 5 years, but the boys have had time.
Yeah.
And Ryan has maybe been there and doing this before. He's been doing it for a lot of years, but successfully with money coming in and being facilitated in the right way. That's going to happen to them as well. Not today. But today, Sidemen Productions might be the vehicle that helps them onto these platforms and creating these things. So creatively, there are so many people that can operate on this level. There is not enough infrastructure in the creative space yet for everyone to operate like we do in the same capacity.
And I think that's hugely exciting, particularly for young people who might listen to this conversation. So
sure.
I have a 13-year-old girl and a 10-year-old boy who obviously consume a lot of the content that you create, but also are talking about being content creators. I mean, my daughter often talks about being a podcaster because that's what her dad does, right? So it's kind of obvious. But what she really means is she wants to be creative. And all I hear around me are parents saying, that's not a proper job. Be more ambitious. Don't think about things like that. And I'd love to have a very different conversation, which is I think that people now who are 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old have more opportunity than ever before. When I was starting out in my career, the only way to be a broadcaster was to get a job with a broadcaster, and they would pay you what they pay you, and that's the only way to do it. Now you get your phone out of your pocket and you can be a broadcaster. So what's the secret to creating content that cuts through in 2026 and beyond for people who want to make a mark?
There are two things that we kind of like attribute to the Sidemen. One of them is grit, and because we live in a society, as you just heard, parents will look and say, oh, it's not really a job.
Yeah.
Try producing 14 videos a day. It's hard. It takes insane amounts of just technical skill that is not very hard to learn. So if you want to get fairly okay at editing, it's not going to take you years upon years upon years. But it requires a very specific skill set to be fantastic at it. All of the Sidemen are. They all sat in rooms, recorded, edited, produced, sound designed, graphics, then uploaded. And when they uploaded, 5 days later, 2 hours later, you ate food back in. Creatively ideate, produce, pre-produce, edit, upload. You become a mini production company with a bunch of flaws, obviously.
And you're doing it without a big audience at that point as well.
You're doing it because you think that it's going to work out. And it's grit. It's the only thing. And you still to this day, yesterday, we released Sidemen Sunday, right? Every Sunday. Today is a Monday. I get a ping from Josh, who's like most of them are highly intelligent people. Some, and I'm talking now purely on IQ. Like Josh has an IQ that you can almost like feel as you walk into a room with him. Vic has sort of the same situation. But then you have they have different kinds of skill sets, but they all work together really well. But Josh will be like, I'm just looking at this one scene. I'm not fully happy with it. My guy has a lot on his plate. I know his schedule. I keep track of it. He sat down and made feedback on one single thing, because since he was 14, 13, 12, right? That mattered. Yeah. And it's the same grit and the same constant drive that we do not settle. And it's just keep on going. If we're going to push out 14 videos a week, which we do, right? We're still not going to make them. If we have a mistake, fine. But let's figure out we had a mistake, right? That's the first. The second one is you need to be talented. You need to have something that someone might not have, or something that is very rare to have. And when you combine that with grit, something fantastic happens. And you can look at the people who are doing it really well now, like Speed, who you will probably look at when he was 17 years old or 16 years old and he told his teachers, I'm going to go home and start barking at this webcam. They'd be like, maybe you shouldn't do that, you know? But my guy has been traveling around the world with a great team around him as well. He's done an entire African tour now. Traveled from country to country to country, meeting people upon people upon people. There is no mental frame of mind that you need to be in to get there that you can compare to anything, except maybe like you do a 200 show tour. Taylor Swift does 200 gigs in a year.
But look how we celebrated Taylor Swift's work ethic. I don't see people celebrating Speed's work ethic.
No.
I see people, you know, of my generation going, oh, what an idiot.
Yeah, of course.
Like, no allowance is made for the dedication that he's shown to what he's done.
And the amount of kids that show up to this where they're like, they feel happiness. These people never. How many times does Taylor Swift go to play a show in Lagos? I don't know. But Speed showed up after 2 years of success. Yeah. And that's not shade on Taylor, right? Taylor's doing great. She's celebrating all of these people around the world to get to go and see her. But Speed says, I'm going to go there on Tuesday. I'm going to be there on Thursday. And then and that grit combined with he has a skill. Whether you want to call it a skill is different. And we have this rule at the company, which is it's not art, it's entertainment. And if art is what you're trying to make, then there is no place for you here right now. Yeah. We don't have the luxury to sit here and create art because no one in this world believes what we make is, they don't see it even as entertainment at this point. They see it as young people screaming at cameras, getting millions of views and still denying it. And when you look at someone like Speed, I don't think he goes to bed thinking, God, I feel so sorry about all the fact that people really think I'm just barking at a camera. He doesn't. And the people that I work with every day, they're proud of what they do. And this, as I said before, this unscripted versus scripted thing that exists. Even you look at the budgets, right? Unscripted is way lower budgets than the talent has in scripted. We are something in between. We're like big talent with huge followings, more like the scripted people. But we do content that is unscripted. So as we now start pulling this narrative of, it's okay, you don't, the old movie star, we're not creating as many of them. Who's the greatest movie star of our time right now? It's probably still the 90s generations, the Brad Pitts, like
Tom Cruise's,
George Clooney's. You could talk about some up and coming names here, but it's like they're not on the level of these people.
Yeah.
However, the stars of our field, if you compare them from 10 years ago, if you look at Casper Lee, who's now doing exceptionally well here, and like he started his company, he's doing great. But if you compare them to the stardom of Speed, of Drewski, of Kai, of AMP, of Sidemen, of Mr. Beast, and we can continue that list, they have exponentially grown. And I think as we now move, that's going to happen again. So if you have a talented daughter who wants to start a podcast about the impact of nature in makeup, the environmental importance in makeup, or she sits at home and plays football, and she doesn't really love football, then make her create a podcast. She's going to learn how to edit graphics. She's going to learn how to produce. She's going to learn how to push something live and have to take the feedback from other people. What'd you learn on a football pitch? How to pass a ball? It makes no sense. I also said I had a big thing when I started out early in my career where people said, like, there's so many young people in this industry. How do we protect them? I'm like, yeah, how do we protect them? Like, let's talk about how we do protect them. But don't talk to them about what they're creating. That's not the issue here. If your son has learned Photoshop at 12, and he's now getting asked by people to create imagery for them, how is that worse than him driving around throwing newspapers on doorsteps? Yes, if you talk safety again, I think he's more unsafe on the street driving around some random neighborhood than he is sitting at his computer learning how to do things like pattern recognition, creative exercises, talking to people and learning how to interact on a social level. The other one is a lone ranger on a bike, hoping to get 15, 20 quid, I don't know.
Yeah, but that's what we did as parents.
Yes,
Therefore,
yeah, no, of course.
we assume that's the right thing to be doing. You know, this is for anyone over the age of 30, 35, this is a foreign language.
Oh,
And
no.
that's why we have to be so careful not to criticize it heavily as parents.
And it's fine to criticize it. I think it's what I always say is like it's completely fine to criticize because there's going to be a bunch of people who don't succeed. But like, what's the hit rate of football? Not that high. And you can talk about brotherhood being built and sisterhood being built when you play football, and that's true. There's still real social interaction that is important. But my thing is not criticizing. It's fine to criticize. Don't stigmatize. Don't make them feel weird for starting a podcast. These children feel weird enough as it is. So if they want to go and do something, especially if their father is a podcaster, of course you're going to be way easier to talk to them. But if your father is a doctor, if you are 9 years old and you want to be a doctor, there's something wrong with you. Like, that is not a fun job. There's blood and like surgery and like saving life. Like, it's quite a heavy gig. Why can't she go and talk about things she cares about for a year? And protecting children's allowance to imagine, for me, is like more important than anything. Because these boys who are now super successful in what they do and have big production companies and 90 people working for them, they were just kids in rooms doing what they wanted. And there is something that needs to be protected.
You're so interesting. Before we wrap up, I want to talk to you about virality and the importance of going viral. Every time you produce something, do you look for things in it that you believe will go viral, and that's a really important sort of check for you?
Yeah. No, that is still a very important thing for us. Not necessarily viral, but it's about almost honoring the viewer. So when you look at different parts of a video, especially when you do long-form content, so we do long-form content as our flagship, right? It's between 45 is maybe our shortest ones, up to 2 hours or some of our longer ones. I mean, some of our big parts are 3 hours probably. But in those, you need to have moments that are going to be, one, exciting for the audience, so like almost like a story point. But that story point almost has an evolution now in the social media landscape, where we needed also to have some form of viral capabilities. And we have different parts of the Sidemen that are like more available to make viral hits. They're more like, listen, if Harry's making a video, he'll fill it with a bunch of different things that you might not expect. Like, one of my favorite things we've done was like JJ. We celebrated JJ's birthday on a roof terrace, and then he had just hidden a bunch of fireworks in and around the roof terrace. So when they're saying like happy birthday or something, they just all go off, and there's just like there's a bunch of people getting scared. But that moment is one. It's fun if you're viewing the video, but more importantly, that in its entirety, just on 30 to 60 seconds, will also have capability as a clip, right? I think for our virality now, it's not only when it comes to long form, because long form is more like you want to get more viewership for your long form, but it's more when we do big things like charity match. We just sold out Wembley. Those leading up videos that we created, which was 7 different videos for each of the Sidemen deciding what team they were going to play on. And they're now for the first time going to clash, right? We need to tell the story of clashing, but how do you make them go viral as well? So you want to get those, millions of views on social. And then you sit down and really do like an exercise on what would be the most viral thing we can do for JJ, for example. And then we sit there and we ideate, and we had a conversation with the boys on the Inside set, actually. And they were like, hey, do you remember that time when he left the Sidemen? And I was like, of course, everyone knows when JJ left the Sidemen. It was the biggest internet thing of the era. What if he just sings the first 2 lines from that song again as if he's leaving again? We're like, that's clever. That's really clever. So that's what became his video for it. Another one was Harry's known for all of his videos. So we like his football videos. So he's very famous for those football videos. So he was like, what if we take the old school sound bites and like try to imitate those songs we can't use because they don't have rights to them anymore. But what if we did that and he just does an insane crossbar hit from middle of the pitch, low-key?
Yeah.
And then that sound cue is almost going to make anyone who's seen that go like, this was my childhood. And like, then you have that sort of like in it. It's not that I'm trying to be like, let's go and throw a rock off a building from the highest possible height. That's like explosive sort of like virality. For us, it's more like how do I make it viral with also community in mind? Because we have built such a huge following over this period of time. But I think virality would always matter. And if you're not fighting for attention on the on short form, then you will struggle to be equally good at telling great stories in 2026 on long form. You need to have them both combined.
Victor, what a fascinating conversation and an incredible opportunity to sort of understand the direction of media. And what you're doing with the Sidemen should be applauded. I love the ambition. I love the hard work. I love the fact that it's working as well, because someone has to do it and make it successful for other people to believe they can follow it. So I think it's so important what you've done.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me. I mean, it's the old quote, right? It's impossible that someone does it.
Thank you, man.
Thanks, bro.
Really enjoyed that.
Thank you.
So good. That's the first conversation I've had with someone where they're not talking about the death of traditional media and the growth of the new creator economy. What Victor is saying is these two things can go hand in hand. Like, in some ways, I suppose what we're talking about here is the creator economy saving traditional broadcasting, but traditional broadcasting giving the creator economy something that they can't get themselves. So I loved it when he spoke about the fact that he appeals to a certain demographic that have their audience, but actually Netflix or Amazon or Channel 4 or the BBC can give them access to a whole different audience. But at the same time, what they can give is access to an audience that otherwise they can't reach. So everybody wins in Victor's imagination. And talking of his imagination, it is limitless in terms of what the future looks like. And I'm so glad that he didn't sit here and say to us, yeah, I think we've kind of reached the limit of what the creator economy can achieve. They are changing the rules, and it means that it's not just a rule that works for them, but it works for the broadcasters, it works for the content creators, and it works for a production company like Sidemen. I think the work that he's doing, of course, it's great for the Sidemen in the short term. I think in the long term, it's great for anyone and everyone, including people like my kids who dream of being content creators. Victor and the work that he's doing now means that that is not just going to be a viable job in the future. I think it's going to be a really exciting and ambitious job for the future as well. And also, we look at being a YouTuber as someone sitting in front of the camera, right, talking. What's Victor just spoken about? Script writing, lighting, editing, the whole ecosystem of creating content is what we should be thinking about when we think about the content creator economy, not just the individual who wants to be famous and have loads of followers. This is about so much more than that. I'm excited to see what the future looks like. I hope you enjoyed that conversation. I certainly did. And if you enjoyed it, please make sure that you hit subscribe or maybe send this to someone that you think could benefit from understanding better than ever before exactly what the future of the creator economy looks like. Thanks for watching.